Blessing. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu, melech haolam, asher noten lanu et Yeshua Moshe Enu, or ha'olam. Blessed are you, Yahweh our God, King of the universe, who gave to us Yeshua our Mashiach, the light of the world. A song for the Shabbat, Tehillim 92, 1 through 16. Most High, to make your mercies known in the morning, and your faithfulness every night, upon 10 strings and upon the harp, upon the resonating harp. For you, Yahweh, have made me rejoice in your deeds. I will overcome in the works of your hand. How great are your deeds, O Yahweh! Your thoughts are very deep. A brutish man does not know, nor does a fool understand this. The wicked sprout as the grass, and though all the deeds of the wicked flourish, the wicked deeds will be destroyed forever. And you, Yahweh, are from the heights forever. For behold your enemies, Yahweh, for behold your enemies will perish. All the deeds of the wicked shall be scattered, and you will raise up my strength as the rhino. I will be anointed with fresh oil. My eyes shall see my enemies, my ears shall hear wickedness rising against me. But righteousness shall flourish as a palm tree, as a cedar in Lebanon it grows. Those that are planted in the house of Yahweh shall flourish in the courts of our God. In old age they still bear fruit. They will be satisfied and prosperous, as a declaration that Yahweh is upright, a rock with no injustice in him. Praise to Yahweh from Tehillim 97, 1 through 12. Yahweh reigns, the earth will rejoice, the multitudes of the coast will be glad. Clouds of thick darkness surrounds him. Righteousness and judgment establishes his throne. Fire goes before him and consumes his enemies round about. His lightning illuminates the world. The earth saw it and trembled. The mountains melt like wax in the presence of Yahweh, in the presence of the Lord of the entire earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory. All the servants of idols who boast in nothingness are confounded. Bow down to him, all you little gods. Zion heard and was glad, and the daughters of Yehudah rejoiced because of your judgments, Yahweh. For you, Yahweh, are high above all the earth, exalted far above all little gods. They love Yahweh that hate evil. He keeps the souls of his Hasidim. He snatches them from the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness to the upright heart. The righteous rejoice in Yahweh and give thanks at the thought of his holiness. Praise to Yahweh from Tehillim 93, 1 through 5. Yahweh reigns. He is clothed in majesty. Yahweh is clothed with strength. He is prepared. The world is established and immovable. Your throne is established from eternity to eternity. The streams have lifted up, Yahweh. The streams have lifted up their voices. The streams lift up their waves. Yahweh is high and more mighty than the sounds of great waters, more mighty than breaking waves. Your testimony is exceedingly faithful. Holiness is fitting in your house forever and ever. Save me from my enemies. Tehillim 13, 1 through 6. To the chief musician, a psalm to David. How long will you forget me, Yahweh? Forever? How long will your face be hidden from me? How long will grief daily be the counsel of my soul? How long will my enemies rise up against me? Consider my afflictions, Yahweh, my God. Make my eyes to shine, lest I sleep with the dead. Lest my enemies say, I have prevailed over him, and my adversaries rejoice, for I am shaken. But in your mercy I trust. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing to Yahweh, for he has recompensed me. Forgive me. Tehillim 130, 1 through 8. A song of degrees. From the depths I have cried to you, Yahweh. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my plea for mercy. If you, Yah, keep records of iniquities, who could survive it? But with you there is forgiveness, so that you will be held in awe. I wait for Yahweh, my soul waits, and in his words I have hope. The Lord keeps my soul like a watchman from morning to morning. Hope, Yisrael, in Yahweh, for with Yahweh there is mercy, and with him is great redemption, and he will ransom Yisrael from all their iniquities. Please turn to the east for the reciting of the Shema. Be'ivrit, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Ve'ahavta et Yahweh Elohecha b'kol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadevarim ha'eleh asher anohi metzavcha hayom al levabacha. And in English, hear Yisrael, Yahweh our God, Yahweh is the only one. And you will love Yahweh your God in all your heart, and in all your soul, and in all your strength. And the words that I command you this day will be in your heart. Turning back, let us shed some love on our neighbors. Be'ivrit, lotikom velotitor et b'nei amecha ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Yahweh. And in English, you shall not avenge or hold a grudge against the children of your people, and you will love your close friend as yourself. I am Yahweh. Okay, my timer's on. We're good? Okay. Trying out this whole new TV thing. Shabbat Shalom, y'all. And my computer's dead. Are you seeing something on the computer? Because my screens are dead as a doornail. Maybe this will. You see a mouse moving around?
Can you turn this screen so you can see it, or
I don't think it'll help me. It's too small.
what does that mean?
Press the space button on the computer. Just dead as a. Move your finger around on the mouse thing. Don't start playing with that. Well, here we go again. Everything was up and working fine, and now it's dead. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm so fed up with it, I can't see straight. Doesn't make any sense at all. They're getting no signal of any kind.
Says I can hear you and see. Oh, they can hear and see. So.
They can hear and see. It doesn't do any good if I can't. Nothing is firing these off. And every one of these things I've done should have. Turn back on, you piece of junk.
That guy named Trey is on here. All I did was switch to camera one, so.
Well, that don't have anything to do with it.
Oh.
One of these has got to have some kind of pause button going on or something.
It's taking them all down with it. It says it's retrieving data. Why would it retrieve data? That don't make any sense.
Will that screen move? I mean, can you scroll down? Or is it that computer that scrolls up?
No, it's this one.
That's what I meant.
Well, he asked me if it was the other one. Mouse isn't working at all. It's the computer. That dang computer is locked up again. And the stupid thing doesn't turn off, and you can't pull the battery. It was a really bad investment. There's literally no place to pull the battery out of it.
Can you control alt delete it to shut it off?
Don't think so. Let's see. That's what I thought. It's not doing a thing. She's locked up as hardcore as she can be. Well, that's at least it shut off. Let's try this again. I don't know why it would keep doing this. Hang on to that. I have to knock it down. All we need is the sound to go away. Y'all give us a minute. I think we might get it back. I'm not sure. But the computer I use to do my part of it has locked up on us. And it's rebooting very slowly at this point.
You pull the stick out, do you need that?
No.
Okay.
I'm worried that maybe that's what's causing it, because sometimes I get hung up on sticks like that. Update. Oh, that's just great.
What?
That's why it wasn't working, is because Microsoft is forcing updates on it. They don't even service this computer anymore, and they're forcing updates on it. I didn't know that was turned on. Well, now that it's doing updates, it could be hours before that thing comes back online.
Just turn it off?
No, they've got control of my computer. If I turn it off, it'll never freaking work again. That I can guarantee you. It's one of the things I hate most about Microsoft. It says it's 100% complete and it's sitting there spinning. But if it says it's 100% complete, it might not take all that long to fire up. I got to figure out how to turn that stupid thing off. And see, I have to leave it on the other machine, but because if I don't, they'll lock up my machine. I'm not sure if that happens on this one or not. Why would it say, it's been saying it's 100% the whole time. And by the way, don't turn off your computer. Well, we're burned. There's nothing I can do. Microsoft has taken over our computer. Yeah, it's on. Microsoft has taken over our computer and there's nothing we can do about it. Guess they figure nobody does anything on the internet on Saturdays, so why not do all that stuff then? Had all week long to do this. We're getting closer. That's the upside to it. We've got most of the equipment working properly. Cameras are working. The monitors are working. And boy, were we having trouble with that for a while. computer that runs the whole system is working. We've got the new encoder came in, but I haven't had time to figure it out and hook it up, because that's what takes us television broadcast. But it finally came in. And we bought this new computer. Well, it's new to us. It's a used computer. And every week there's something else wrong with it. Every time you turn it on, everything looks great. And here we were, 5 minutes into it, and everything just went black. And oh, by the way, we're updating your computer, which in the end is my fault. I should have turned that off, but I didn't think of it, and I didn't know it was on.
Can you talk about what we're gonna do for Pesach?
Okay. For Pesach, what we figured out is basically the first sundown in Central Texas is at 8 o'clock. So what we're going to do is, if you want to eat the Passover meal with us, because I won't need I don't need this stuff to make this work. In fact, we'll probably have the big computer sitting in the house at our table or something. But I can take you through what's called the Haggadah. It's the steps, and mine's different. We're not going to have an Easter egg on our plate like so many Jews do today. Oh my goodness, that's, I find, very offensive. But you'll need you need a bitter herb. What do we get? Horseradish, yeah. Bitter herbs are hard to come by. There's not very many. And it says it in plural. In the Hebrew text, it says bitter herbs, which makes it sound like you got to have several different ones. And certainly you could take it that way and follow that tradition or that thinking. And we tried to at one time, but it was impossible. We couldn't find a second one. I mean, we looked at several different stores, went north Austin and South Austin and here in Bastrop, of course, and we just couldn't find anything. But the reason why it's in plural is not because you have to have more than one. It's because it's eternal. It's a thing that you notice about Hebrew text. The plurality is not the same as plurality in English. If we say, take a look at those cats, we're talking about two cats. Of course, in Hebrew, they're not going to say that. It would be something more along the lines of, I'll take care of your cats. Let's say that was a law. It's not, but let's say that was a law. Well, some people would say, okay, well, you always have to have more than one cat or you can't fulfill the law. No, that's not how Hebrew law works. It's not how the Hebrew language works. No, it just don't work that way. The reason why it's in plural is because you're being told that for all your generations, those of you who have cats, because it's not an order to have a cat, it's an order to take care of it, right? So for everyone who has a cat, for every generation to come, you have to take care of it. And instead of saying all of that, they just say, take care of your cats. I hope you follow what I'm saying here. So it's not about having more than one type of bitter herb. It's about you have to have the bitter herb every time. So we have the lamb is every time, the bitter herb is every time, the date is the same every time. Some of God's laws don't have dates because, well, for instance, when you're dependent upon the harvest, there is no date given because depending on where you are, the harvest is going to happen. I mean, neighbors living right across the street from each other. One guy may have a harvest this week and the next guy may not harvest until next week. So those laws don't have dates because a date you can't have a harvest 2 or 3 weeks before it's ready. That's a dumb thing to do. So they're not all, trying to sneeze here. Sorry about that. So some things don't have dates. Some laws don't have details. For instance, the fringe. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. There's only 2 verses in the whole Bible that even specifically talk about us needing to have fringes. Several. The word zitzit and zitziot, which is zitzit singular, zitziot is plural, those words show up a lot more than you might think. In fact, when David, just David sounds so funny to me, but David, when he sent his men to go comfort, oh, what's his name, that other king, and those guys whispered in his ears and said, oh, he's up to something. And so they cut off, it says they cut off the ziot, the curlicues that they wear. You seen guys in New York wearing those? That came from the Bible. David's men, his priest, wore those, but they didn't. They called them zitziot, which is our word for fringe, our word for the things that we wear on the corners. So the word shows up more than you might think in Hebrew. It's not translated as fringe every time. That would have been translated most likely as sideburns, right, or the sides of their beards. Not sure how they would have said it in English. Again, I don't read the Hebrew Bible, and there's no point in it for me. Now the thing says it's going 15% complete. While ago it said 100%. Yeah, it'll be doing this an hour after we close down. Watch out. Anyway, so some things that, like, for instance, new moon, you can't give a date on that because it changes from month to month. But here's the thing: the new moon celebration is not a commandment of God. It is a tradition that grew out of just the desire to have a party once a month. I mean, I don't know why it would have grown out of any other reason, but it was, any reason for a Jew to have a big meal and a music and singing and dancing is a good one, right? And so I think that it grew out of that. But by the time you get to the time of Isaiah and Hosea and those guys, Yeshayahu, to say Isaiah's name right, but by the time you get to their time, this Testament, they command you to celebrate it. Yeah, the new moon celebration is in the New Testament and written as a commandment. So what are you gonna do with that if you're trying to stick with the Christian line? Because it's telling you have to do that. Look it up. Look up new moon in the New Testament. You'll be surprised. But anyway, that can't be given a particular date because, well, it's going to be different from month to month, right? And year to year because it's following the moon phases, and 365 days a year is a rounded off number. We don't really have that for real. There's like 364.9 or some nonsense like that. And so it changes it's why every year Passover, couldn't think of the English word there. Passover happens at different times. It can be as far as a month off from one year to the next. They don't usually swing that wildly, but they do rotate into different types of the year. A season now we're in what's the word I'm looking for? A rotation. I can't think of the word. But we're at a place now where Sukkot winds up later in the year. And just 10 years ago, it was very early in the year, right? Because we went to a Sukkot service, and Don and I were staying in a motorhome. We were still sneaking up on this whole idea of the things that we believe in now and the way we live now. We were still sneaking up on it. So we were staying in the motorhome, and everybody else who set up their tents in this little same general area. And so so our motorhome had central air and heat. And so when we went to bed, we didn't know it was on, but it was on, and the temperature just stayed the same. So we were comfortable all night long. And we opened up that door, and it was, what was it, 38 38 degrees or something. We go out there and everybody is staying in tents, because it was what, 70 degrees that day before, and so now it's 38 degrees or whatever it is, and you can see everybody's huddled in their cars with their heaters turned on because it was early enough in the year that we were still having really cold temperatures. And see, that kind of stuff's not happening now because our pattern is later in the year, but it'll eventually swing back around to the colder parts of the year. So that stuff can't be given a date because it changes. And then there are things that are not given a date simply because it doesn't matter. It's not a law, right? And so when it comes to the new moon service, we don't have the new moon service on the exact date of the new moon. For one thing, where we live, you'd never be able to see the moon well enough to know when it starts. I mean, seriously, there's so many trees out here, we'd never be able to do it. In the training that's needed to be able to do that is difficult. So, since it's not a command of God, we celebrate it on the first Saturday of every month. It's very close to being right. It's always a day, a day or two before or a day or two behind, but we're always real close to having it on the right, or on the exact time. Again, it's not a commandment of God. We don't worry about it. When it comes to cook your meat at an exact time, it's supposed to wait until that first sundown. Not necessarily the second, but the first one for sure. So first sundown happens right around 8 o'clock. And what that is in biblical terms, that's when it's still light outside, but the sun has already gone over the horizon, but you can still see. That's sundown number one. And then sundown number two is, of course, when it gets dark. So at 8 o'clock, it'll be sundown number one, and we'll go ahead and we'll cook in our meal. Now, again, you don't have to be starving to death, uh, waiting until, because, like, for instance, the people in New York, that's going to happen an hour before us. And you could go ahead and cook the food and eat your meal and do all that stuff, but you won't be doing it with us because we have to wait until the sun goes down here. People in California are just out of luck because it goes down 2 hours later for them. But at this point, we don't have anybody on that coast, so it's not going to matter. We're Texas and headed east. So anyway, that's the deal. I know the sun goes down to, well, if you're normally eat at 5 o'clock, go ahead and eat at 5 o'clock. This isn't supposed to be a big, heavy meal. It's just a remembrance. It's a sort of remembrance, I think, is a good word for it. We're just supposed to be, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. But anyway, it's not important that that's the big meal of your day. Now, if that's all you can afford to do, I'm sorry you have to wait. Buy some unleavened crackers or something to hold you over, or some fruit or something, to hold you over. You don't have to be starving when this happens. And if you have little kids, you better feed them at the right time, at the regular time. Don't do this to little kids, because this isn't about sacrificing and fasting and stuff like that. It's not what this is supposed to be. It's something very different, right? So don't do that to the little kids. Feed them when they're hungry. And then if they go to sleep and can't stay awake for this, don't worry about it. This is for adults. It's not for children. If children are mature enough to be a part of it, then that's great, because there is a question that we want to ask the one of the children, not the youngest one, usually the oldest, when they first get old enough to be able to learn to say Ma Abada Hazeh is what we have on the what service is this. So it's something along that line. I'm not remembering it off the top of my head, but it is in that article everybody should have a copy of, called Rules for Pesach. when they get old enough, like, you know, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years old, where they can start doing that, that's fine. If the Hebrew's too difficult for them, just have them ask in English, what service is this? I think that's what you say, right? What service? I think that's,
What is the purpose?
or what is this service, or
Yeah,
what
what
is
is
the
this
purpose,
service?
or
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what the words are, but they are in the, because I'm not the kid. I haven't been expected to ask that question since never, because we didn't do anything Jewish when I was growing up.
Are you able to send that back out if they request it by email?
Yeah, if you request it by email, I can send you a copy if you don't have one. It's just my name, Robert, at my last name, ALLON .org for organization. Send a request, and I'll send a copy to you real happily, because it shows you all of the rules involved in Passover, the ones that you have to follow, and then the traditions. Like haroset is something that I really love. It's a dessert that we always have with the meal. Oh, that's not a law. That don't have anything to do with the Bible. It just tastes good, and it goes really well with lamb. So that's not a thing, right? But it's something that I do. My wife does for me mostly, because you guys, when we do have it together, almost nobody eats it, and I get the whole bowl to myself. It's not a good thing. Y'all should really eat more. But anyway, so some things are tradition, and if you don't like that part of the tradition, you don't have to do that tradition. It's not, there's no law here. So you need to know the difference between what is law and what isn't law. And that's very important. And that document will definitely help you with that, because
So
it's,
there's 3 things: lamb, bitter herbs, and matzah.
yeah, the lamb, the bitter herbs, that's for the Pesach. The matzah is the big, well, that does go with the Pesach. So matzah is part of that. And matzah is the Hebrew word for unleavened. Unleavened, actually, it's just the Hebrew word for unleavened, but we know it's unleavened bread from what happens next, right? Because then for the next 7 days, you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It just continues. Pesach falls right into Matzot. So Passover falls right into unleavened bread. There is no hiccup between them. They go directly one to the other. And here's another law. If you have no intention or no ability, let's say you live with somebody else, or you have a spouse who's absolutely under no circumstances going to follow this law, you you can't participate in the Pesach at all. If the leaven is not going to be removed from your home on the night that it's supposed to be removed from your home, or I say night, but probably in our case, most of us will do it during the day. Uh, some will do it at night. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. There's a 24-hour period of time that you have to get it cleared from your house. And whenever that time is, if you're not going to do it because, say, you live with somebody else, it's not your house, it's not your business to tell them, hey, you have to do this for me. Don't do that. That's not right. That's not according to God's law. We don't tell other people how to live. So if you're in that type of situation where you know good and well that's not going to happen, don't take the Pesach. Is that a sin not to? Yes, it is. If you're living according to God's law and you don't take the Pesach, you are in sin, and you are in such big trouble. I mean, oh my gosh, look out! You're not allowed to talk to another Jew for a whole 8 days, and that's on you to make sure that happens. It's not on everybody else to make sure it happens. If they keep calling and calling and texting, uh, you just type the word unclean. That every Jew should know to leave you alone, because you are unclean if you don't. That is the sum total of the punishment. It's not banishment. It's not you go to hell. It's none of those things. It's just that you're not allowed to be part of the Jewish family for an entire week.
Explain what you meant by the 24-hour period. It's not the day before Passover, it's the day starting at Passover through the next Sunday. Clean up.
Right, because the cleaning starts at sundown. The issue is if you're busy cooking the food and prepping for the Passover dinner with us, you may not have time to clean the leaven out of your home. And if you don't have time for that, I mean, you may have to work as a team. Maybe the husband's cooking because it's on the grill, or the wife's cooking, or whatever. Whoever's not cooking, maybe you should be gathering up the leaven and getting it out of your house. Because once you go outside, you cannot go back in until the sun comes back up. So there isn't 24 hours. There's about 8 hours there. You're not allowed to be doing that, right? You're not allowed in your house. Because on the first Pesach, they couldn't go out of their house. And from every Pesach from that point on, from the second Pesach until the end of time, it's the opposite. We stay outside, not inside. That's a pretty neat thing if you think about it. We went from having to be inside to be protected to always being outside because we're protected. So anyway, that's kind of neat. But you have that whole day the next day. You're when the sun comes up, you're allowed to go back in your house, and you have that whole day until the first sundown to get that stuff out of your house. So if you miss, like say you tried the night before, maybe you should go back in there and make sure that you got it all, and then you don't have to worry about becoming unclean. But the whole punishment for being unclean is from the day you're unclean until the end of the service, you're not allowed to be a part of the Jewish family. That's your punishment. That's the sum T total of the punishment. God's not going to take your livelihood from you. He's not going to strike you with lightning. Your kids are not going to die like Job's. None of that's part of it. The punishment is you and you alone have to make sure that you do not talk with or have contact with your family of God. And I mean, back in the day, that was pretty rough. And right now, that could be pretty rough because, I mean, people have been quarantined to their homes for a week now, some for 2 weeks, and people are committing suicide. Wow. I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all.
This would be another good time to explain that if you're not circumcised, you can't participate.
That's the other thing that you'll notice when you look at the laws. If you're not circumcised, you cannot participate, or at least why it seems, because it really wasn't what we think it is. But it's why it seemed like there was such this argument over whether you were Jewish before or after you were circumcised, because that was an issue. Not that it was an issue between the Jews who were circumcised and the Jews who were not. Everybody involved in those arguments were circumcised. Let's not get that mixed up. But the law of God states that if you are not circumcised, you cannot take the Pesach. So there is an issue here. And again, it's not the New Testament where this issue belongs, because it's a completely different subject. The uncircumcised in the New Testament argument in the book of Acts were not uncircumcised men. They were men who didn't speak Hebrew. That was also called the uncircumcision by the Jews. But there was this argument about when somebody decides to convert to Judaism, it had long been accepted that they were not fully Jewish unless they were circumcised, because when they're not circumcised, they cannot eat the Pesach, they cannot keep the commandments of God. And they have a point. So if you think about it, God's commanding you to do the Pesach, and he's absolutely forbidding anyone to do the Pesach unless they're circumcised. So you do the math and think about what you think of that. But anyway, if you're not circumcised, don't take the Pesach. Don't do it.
Would that be still like being unclean? Would that be?
It is considered unclean.
So you're cut off.
Yeah. But here's the thing, if you're trying to, this is new to you, you don't know about having that kind of surgery, maybe you can't afford that kind of surgery, whatever, because that's a heck of a commitment for a grown man. Trust me, we all understand that. But the punishment for the sin is 1 week without the people. That's all it is. You don't go to hell for it. You don't have lightning bolts for it. You're not unclean from now on. The people are not to shun you from this point on. You're supposed to shun yourself. You're supposed to separate yourself from the children of God until that Pesach is over. Until, Matzah is over. And then you go on like you were and pick up with your learning and you're moving on and stuff. Don't just drop out just because that seems like too big of a burden, because truth is truth. And if we want to know the truth, we're not going to find it by saying, well, I can't follow a God that asks of something like that of me. Really? Who do people think they are that say that? I don't get that. I won't follow a God because children die. Really? So I'll never understand that. God created all that is. Children die. Young, healthy people die. Old people die. The number one purpose in human life from the moment they're born is to die. Their body is, from the moment we're born, is literally trying to kill us. God's design. Anyway, I know that seems hardcore and radical, but the truth is the truth. You can't change that. God created it this way. It is what it is. And you either obey him or you don't. So if you're not going to obey him in the small things, even if you see him as a big thing, or maybe it is a big thing, you're not going to obey him in anything. It's that simple. So anyway, if you can't because you know that, like I said, you've got a spouse who's against it, or because that's a real thing. I mean, Shaul had to deal with that in the New Testament letters. He had one side, whether it was the wife or the husband, will get all excited and want to follow the teaching of the of the Mashiach, because that's what there's only a difference between the Jews over here on the left and the Jews over here on the right. The ones on the left were trying to hang on to, still waiting on the Messiah because they didn't like the way this Messiah did his stuff. And the other ones were like, oh, well, God does things the way he wants to do them. This is good with us. I lost my train of thought.
If they had a spouse that wouldn't participate.
So if you have a spouse that won't participate, don't take the Pesach. Just accept that you're a sinner. Now, on the other hand, let's say you've gone through the whole effort. You've taken everything out that you can, and you've done everything as well as you can, and you stop. You're been at it all day long working and all that, and you're starving. And you're still an hour or two from home, and you pull into a hamburger joint, and you stick that thing in your mouth. You take a bite before you realize you're eating unleavened bread. It happened to me one year, real early on in my walk, and I spit it out. I just I realized what I'd done, and I'd spit it out. Well, from that point on, and it was 3 or 4 days into it, till the end of Pesach, I was unclean. There was nothing I could do about it. Well, but I didn't swallow it. Yeah, but the law also says we can't have it in our hands. We can't be seen with it. I violated both of those. So I was unclean. And I was not allowed to talk to other people. Can you talk to your spouse? Yes. Don't stop talking to your spouse, because that's a kind of a a different thing. If you want to not talk to your spouse, that's okay as long as it's okay with her. But let's not get in a divorce situation over something like this. Again, it's the same punishment. I'm 4 days in. Let's see, 7 minus 4 equals. I got 3 or 4 days, depending on. It's 8 days, right? So yeah, I got 4 days, 4 in. Got 4 days left. Because I'm trying to think of this. Passover was the first day, and you got 7 days after that, so it's an 8-day holiday altogether. So I got 4 days that I have to not talk to everybody else. It's particularly problematic if I do it because I'm the rabbi and I'm the one everybody's got the questions. Oh, well, what about this and what about that? And I have nothing to offer. Not good. So, but that's the sum total of it. That's all it is. We don't have to go around calling ourselves stupid and idiot and slapping ourselves on the head for being so dumb. Yeah, I know guys do that because I did that to myself. That time that happened, I was so mad at myself. To what end? What does it help with? So my point, getting back to the original point, it might be real important this time around that we really are careful about following these laws if we're going to have trouble with being shut in and not having anyone to talk to. So do your best, and if you mess up, remember it's just a few days. It's just a few days. It's not a big deal. You'll be able to talk to us later, be able to catch up with us later. But this is on the individual. It's not on the synagogue is not going to ask you every day, how you doing? Have you messed up? Blah, blah. No, this is on you. You're the one that's supposed to separate yourself from the people. Okay, I did turn that on. What else should I cover?
We've been talking about staying out all night. Rich actually asked me if he could sleep in his car.
You have to stay out of your house all night. There are no rules as to how that's done. You can stay in a motel, which of course this year may not be possible. I don't know. I don't know if they've closed them down or what, but normally we'd be able to stay in a motel, or you can stay in a pup tent, or you can stay in a motor home, or you can stay in your car. It doesn't make any difference. What you're not allowed to do is go in your house. Okay, so can I go stay at my mother-in-law's house? Not a very good witness. I think technically I'd have to say yes, but spiritually I'd say don't do that. We're not supposed to have graven images for ourselves, right? Because that's the way the law says it. You don't have them for yourself, which means that it is okay for you to carve out a graven image, right? And it's a good thing because there have been a lot of Jews have been forced to do that for a living. Forced to. Think about what they did in Egypt. They were building idols mostly. And that wasn't a sin for them as long as they didn't keep one for themselves. So you could buy a niece or a nephew something that's basically a graven image. A doll is a graven image because graven in Hebrew means three-dimensional. So a doll, a Barbie doll, a Ken doll, an army doll, those little army guys with the little plastic things so they'll stand up. Those are all graven images. Stuffed animals are graven images because they're three-dimensional. Does that mean that if you have, here's a good example, if you have something sewn in, trying to straighten that out. Go to camera 2. Are you on camera 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can they see it?
Yeah, they could see it on camera 1.
Man, everything's backwards. That's hard to do.
Not three-dimensional.
Right. This is two-dimensional. The curtains in the Holy of Holy actually had animals sewn onto it, just like this. That's why I keep this pillow here, so I can show you guys. You can feel it. Oh, that's three-dimensional. No, people, that's two-dimensional.
They had an actual plastic armadillo sewn on it.
Right. Now, yeah, go ahead. As my wife was saying, now if it had an actual plastic three-dimensional armadillo sewn onto it, that'd be different. Yes, it would be. But this is not that wouldn't be against our law. Where, a puppy or a teddy bear actually is. It's against God's law. God wrote the laws, not me. I just tell you what they say. So it technically we could buy a doll or a teddy bear or whatever and give it to our nieces and our nephews, and you've not literally committed a sin against God's law. But spiritually you have, because you're living a lifestyle that does not allow you to do certain things, but you're going to promote somebody else do those things that your lifestyle doesn't allow. No, that's not right. It's not good. So I really don't want to see you guys going and spending that night with your family members or other various friends. This is supposed to be a celebration of the children of Israel concerning our God. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. So I'm not going to jump on you or yell at you or condemn you or any of that stuff. If you do those things, I'm just telling you, it's not good form. Let's stay away from it if we can. There are plenty of options for us without indulging in something like that.
So that brings up a point. If you're going to stay outside in a tent or your car or whatever, you need to have stuff out there before you start the pace off, because you can't go back in and get it. Be prepared.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear my wife, but she's saying, look, you need to be prepared. And let's say you're going to stay out in your car or you're going to stay out in your pup tent, whatever. You need whatever you're going to need. You need it out there before Pesach. You need it out there before the sun goes down. So whatever sleeping stuff you're going to have out there, if you're going to put a cot out there, you're going to carry your bed out there, whatever, do it before the Pesach, because you can't go back in your house. There's really not that much that we're trying to do here, but and frankly, if you see this, I'm thinking maybe at some point other people are going to see this video, not just people who are with us right this minute. But if you see what we're talking about as legalism and bondage, you need to look those words up in the dictionary, because you don't understand them. This is not legalism. This is not a bondage. God is not the author of bondage. He is not the author of legalism, and he is the author of laws. So this is simple obedience. I've got 12 minutes left. Is it saying it's going to shut down?
I don't know.
We don't know if we're about to shut down or not. We don't know if we don't actually know if there's a 1 hour time limit, because last time that happened, we had a lightning storm going on and everything went off at the same times, and it was exactly an hour. So we don't know. I don't. But in case, shalom, best shalom, y'all. But I'm going to try to go my whole time, because even then it'll be less than an hour because of all that other stuff that happened. The computer finally came back on. I see my computer screen in all three places. I just got to turn that thing off. It's probably all it is, but we can't have that every single week. This is crazy. Anyway, I don't know if it was a ID 10T error or if it was just. Anyway, sorry about today. It was supposed to be a real message and all that.
Yeah, but I think they got what they really needed, and especially with the new guys.
So anyway, the Pesach is this Wednesday night. We're going to start our food at 8 o'clock. And at 8:30, we're going to have the sit down and to give everybody enough time. So do whatever you got to do to keep your food warm. And yes, you can still be in your house until we have the meal. So if you have to go in and grab the salt and pepper or heat it up on the microwave because you cooked it and it took 5 minutes and I cooked it and it took 30. I mean, yeah, let's just work that stuff out because it hasn't officially happened until we have the meal. So you can, at that point, still go in your house without any trouble. In any of these violations, if you go back in your house, that's the same as eating unleavened bread. So does that mean, okay, I went back in my house because I forgot, I went and got the salt and pepper or whatever, and I realized, well, that probably wouldn't make any sense because you do that before you ate or during the meal, and that wouldn't be a sin. Let's say you forgot to get some blankets and it's turning cold. You got to run in the house and get some blankets because you can't go to Walmart or whatever that time of day. I have no idea if they're shutting Walmart down or what they're doing. I don't get out much. So, but, and trust me, if it's going to be cold and you don't have a way to stay warm, go get the blankets. Go commit the sin. Please don't go out there and freeze to death. That's ridiculous. God's not asking that from you. But you have broken the law if you do it. And if you do, that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to eat the matzah. Because remember, the men came to Moshe and said, we were unclean. We've come in contact with a dead body. What is there to stop us from doing the Pesach? I think was how they said it, because I think they said Asa Pesach. Moshe went and prayed, and God said, you got to do the Pesach. So even if you mess up, you still have to carry it out. I guess that's probably the best closing thing to say. You still need to eat the matzah. Matzah, because you're eating it every day. So you say it in plural. Don't stop. Don't go out and start having hamburgers just because you messed up on day one. Don't do that. That's very disrespectful to God, I think. But that's my own personal opinion.
What about bathrooms? Figure out where you can go in your car and go somewhere, can't you? Instead of going back in your house.
Y'all don't have a bathroom in your backyard like we do? What's wrong with y'all people? Well, I hate to say this, but you got to make arrangements. If you got to go up to the corner gas station or an all-night, dang, I started to say diner, but they're not going to be open. Wow, this is interesting this year. Y'all going to have to put some thought into it.
Yeah.
I have not thought of it. That's what Judaism is. Be prepared. It's all about when life throws us a lemon, we're supposed to be the ones that make the lemonade out of it. It's supposed to be top notch. We said we'll do and obey. We'll find a way. That literally in Hebrew that means we will find a way to make it happen. Because that's asa bet asa. Yeah, you can rent a porta potty, which might be a little late right now. You can get one of them little buckets and put the little toilet lid on like they did back in the 70s in those conversion fans. Oh, nasty. There's got to be somewhere that you can go. There's got to be. And I understand for us older guys, that's an issue. Because some of us get up 12 times a night, because it just is what it is once you get to a certain age. But you got to work it out. I mean, we put a bathroom in our backyard, not in the house. I had not thought about that one. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you got think of some way. I mean, that's what makes Judaism fun in my book. We're looking for ways to make it happen. How does it don't get any better than that? Anyway.
I can buy one of those plastic temporary showers and put a bucket in there. Then close them up so they won't be breaking the law by.
Oh yeah, we bought one of those outdoor zip up shower building things. You know, it comes in a bag about that long and it's pretty thick, and then you fold it all out, and it has a zip up door and all that, kind of like a little bitty teepee type thing. It even has a little hole in the top where you take a bag of water that gets hot in the sun, and it has a little hose that goes down that you can handle to turn it off. We got one of those at a thrift store one year for $20. Yeah, you could set one of those up and put your little temporary bucket out there. Oh, that's so nasty. Or
If the gas stations are closed.
I would imagine there's going to be overnight gas stations. The bigger ones should be open somewhere.
The big one, if it's one of those, they don't let you use the bathroom anyway. Okay.
Well, we're out of time, everybody. Shalom, shalom.
Okay, I'm gonna start the video.
Switch over then.
The blessing, Be'ivrit. Yevarecha Yahweh v'yish merecha. Ya'er Yahweh panai v'lecha v'hunecha. Yisa Yahweh panai v'lecha v'yasim lecha shalom. And in English, may Yahweh cause you to lie down so that you may rest. May he touch and caress you. May he prepare you for what is ahead. May he watch over you. May he keep you from harm. May he cause goodness to grow in you and take away the bad. May he arrange your life and cause you to flourish. May he cheer you up and gladden your heart. May he cause his light to shine through you. May he show you tenderness, favor, and love in his presence. May he show you kindness and be delicate towards you. May he show you his generosity, mercy, compassion, and desire for you as it comes forth from the depths of his soul. May he lift you out of your pit and deliver you from the things that hold you prisoner. May he draw you to his chest and cast his eyes on yours. May he show you his love and desire for you as he cradles you in his arms. May he bear your punishment and pardon you of your sin. May he take you for his bride. May he establish a foundation in you. May he place his name on your heart and mind and make your body his temple. May you be his treasure. May you always be on his mind. May he draw you near and comfort you when you are afraid. May he assure you there is nothing to fear because he is with you. May you and all that concerns you be at peace because he is your friend. Amen.